Hello students, today we have to start with the pricing under monopoly. How the price and output to be determined in case of your monopoly market structure. I mean monopoly रे केंदी price आउ output determination करिवा. आमे जानी जे perfect competition रे केंदी आमे out price and output determination करूथले. In perfect competition आमे short run देखिले long run भी study कले. In short run the producer on supernormal profit, normal profit, losses and also we explain shutdown point. But what about in the long run in perfect competition? He on the normal profit. But that is the feature of perfect competition, therefore the producer on this type of situations. But in case of a monopoly, the producer can earn supernormal profit, normal profit, all losses, even though you can find the shutdown point also in short run. But in case of your long run, that too in monopoly, he earn always supernormal profit. Why? Because in long run also entry is block, because we already know the features of monopoly. Monopoly means mono means single, poly means seller. Mono means single, poly means seller, means there is a single seller market. It produces a particular product which is to be uniform, I mean unique product. There is no close substitute of that particular product. से जो product टा production करूची तार के close substitute नाहंती. For example, आमे कहबा let's say RBI issue the currencies. आमर जो central bank अच्छी Reserve Bank of India, it issue the currencies. Starting by the 2000 rupees to the 2 rupees or it with the one or all the paper currencies, all the paper currencies to be issued by the Reserve Bank of India. No other company, no other I mean organization of the government can have the power to issuing the currencies. Similarly, IPOs or the postal department is the sole authority to print the stamps and so on. No other company, no other I mean organization of the government can introducing those things. Therefore, the monopoly of issuing it. Similarly, if you take into account the Indian Railway, there is no other railway to be takes place. That means there is no private company to enter into it. You can't purchase a rail and to be start from your residence to your school or your residence to the office or something else. No, it is not possible. Indian Railway is another best example of your what? That is called the monopoly producers. So, the monopoly producer is a product, it produces a particular product where there is no close substitute, it is the uniform product and that unique product it to be produced by that sole company. There is strong barrier to the enter into the industries, no other company can enter to produce that particular product, right. And here we know the feature of the monopoly that the demand curve is a downward sloping curve. The demand curve, that is the average revenue curve, is a downward sloping curve and marginal revenue lie below the average revenue curves. The demand curve elasticity is to be less than 1. That means the demand curve is a steeper demand curve. जेतने हमें revenue curve टा drawn करिबा, it a steeper demand curve रहेगा. It is not flatter as in case of the monopolistic competitions. And there is no supply curve in case of your monopoly. Monopoly रे कोई supply curve नहीं. कहेंगे? Now it is so because in monopoly the producer can charge several prices to the same commodity to the different places, I mean different consumers at the different places. से गोटे जिनस को विभिन्न प्रकार कंज्यूमर को विभिन्न प्रकार प्राइसेस से सेल करूचे. सेतिपाई in this particular case there is no case, I mean we can draw the term what is called the supply curve like in case of perfect competitions, right. There is a strong barrier to the enter into the industry, no other producer can enter into the industries. There may be the large consumers, but only one seller. Here is no differences between the farm and industry because in case of perfect competition what you find केते group of farm को नहीं कि आमे करूथले individual farm को मिसे कि आमे करूथले market किंबा industry करूथले. But here in case of your monopoly what do you find? He is a sole producer. जेतु से जणे मात्र producer सेतिपई कोनोसी differences रोहनी farm आउ industry, market आउ farm भीतर किसी differences नहीं. He is a sole producers, right. It practices price discrimination. Price discrimination means he charges same product for the different prices, but it may be the heterogeneous things. Let for example, तमे चाहुचा बर्तन भुवनेश्वर रो न्यू दिल्ली जिबा पई कोथरे ट्रेन रे जीवो बट ट्रेन रे जतले जाउछे देयर आर थ्री आई मीन डिफरेंट फेयर्स आर देयर प्राइसेस आर टू बी डिफर तबे जदि जनरल क्लासेस जीवो प्राइस कम दबो जदि सेकंड क्लास स्लीपर रे जीवो प्राइस टिके अधिक दबो जदि थर्ड एसी रे जीवो आउ टिके प्राइस अधिक दबो सेकंड एसी आउ प्राइस टिके अधिक दबो जदि फर्स्ट एसी जीवो आउ प्राइस अधिक दबो दैट मीन्स यू हैव टू पे मोर प्राइस for the obtaining different services but remember your target to गोटे जगार आ गोटे जाऊ भुवनेश्वर न्यू दिल्ली जीव जेहेतु भुवनेश्वर न्यू दिल्ली जाऊँ कि तुम प्राइस दौच डिफर बट यू ऑब्टेन द डिफरेंट सर्विसेस राइट डिफरेंट सर्विसेस डिफरेंट प्राइस दौच but your intention have to move from one place to the another place. In order to moving from one place to the another place, he may charge, the producer may be charged different prices, and he charges different prices because he provide the some differentiated services, right. We can take the example, the best other best example of your monopoly product is all kind of professionals. Jete सब professional achhanti, whether it is a lawyer, doctor, you can take any sort of professionals are there. He can charge different prices at the different places and the different for the different consumers. So that's the discriminating concepts, and that discrimination is to be present in case of the professionals also. Therefore, the professionals comes under the monopoly, right. After knowing all these basic features, now the question is how the price and output we have to determine in case of your monopoly. Before that, we have to know the conditions of equilibrium. The marginal revenue must be equal to the marginal cost. Second, marginal cost cut marginal revenue from below, or marginal cost must rise after the point of equilibrium. But here, out of these two marginalistic conditions, the first one is called as the essential conditions. Means तुमको प्रथमटा को जेमिति satisfy करिया पड़िबो, it is the essential condition. But second one, it is a desirable condition. Desirable in the sense it may be satisfied, may not be satisfied, right. The second condition may be satisfied, may not be satisfied, that is not important factor. But the first conditions at any cost it to be satisfied in order to obtain the equilibrium. Now, while you comparing the terms of perfect competition and monopoly, we know the features are to be differ, the figures also be the differ, because in case of a perfect competition, demand curve is a horizontal straight line, marginal revenue coincide with the average revenue, its elasticity is to be cost to infinity. But here it is a downward sloping, marginal revenue lie below it, and the elasticity demand is to be less than 1, and it always the price, what the price is to be charges by the perfect competition producer, perfect competitive producer, it will be called as the price taker. It accept the ruling price of the market, means market is jaha price determination abo, that particular price to be accepted by all the producers inside the market. But here in case of your monopoly, the producer, as he is the sole producer, therefore here is a considerable control over the price of the product. In perfect competition, there is zero control over the price of the product, but here there is 100% control over the price of the product, because he is a price maker, he makes the price for his own product, right. So, considering that, we have to move, the two situations are there, short run and second one is your long run. In short run, we have to cover the 4 bit of it, supernormal profit, normal profit, losses, and we can take that is the shutdown point, shutdown situations, this 4 like perfect competitions. And in this case, we have to cover only supernormal profit, there is no normal profit, there is supernormal profit, okay. Now, we have to explain one by one of each variant. In monopoly, we can't determine the two farm and industry or the farm and market, no, it is not possible. This is in case of your perfect competition, not in monopoly. Monopoly, the only farm is there, because there is no differences between the farm and industry, both are remain the same, okay. Now, the first situation, supernormal profit, and obvious fact, supernormal profit means your revenue must be greater than cost, means total revenue is greater than total cost, or in the other way we can say average revenue lies above the average cost, means revenue is more than the cost. Okay. With this background we have to draw the curve. Okay. On horizontal axis, as you know, we have to take output, and on the vertical axis it is revenue and cost, because we have to plot both cost and that is called the revenue curves. Cost curves are remain the same. Cost curve, whether is the producer become a profit competitive producer, or is a monopolistic producer, or is a oligopolistic producer, whatever the case may be, what kind of producer is to be, whether the government or is the private organizations or anything, the cost to be remain the same. Means we have to find the same structure of your short run and long run cost curves in all kind of market structure, right. Only difference is the revenue. Revenue will be differ because characteristics or the features of the markets are differ. We have to draw the average revenue curve, that is your demand curve, and it is the steeper demand curve, and this is the marginal revenue curve, which is to be lies below the average revenue curve, and we have to take the average cost, certain average cost whose minimum is there, average revenue lies over the average cost, average revenue lies over the average cost, that is the condition of the profit. Now, we have to trace the marginal cost. This is the curve for your short run marginal cost. Okay. Now, condition of equilibrium, MR equal to MC, and MR equal to MC is to be takes place here. Kahinki? Now, marginal revenue is here and this is the marginal cost. So, this is the point of equilibrium, not this, not this. Okay. And kahinki eta equilibrium hoche? Na conditions of equilibrium, marginal revenue must be equal to marginal cost. Now, from that equilibrium point we have to drop a perpendicular. Kouti ki taniba? Na amako output axis ku taniba. While you drop a perpendicular to the output axis, we find the producer produces OQ1 amount of output. So, the output is OQ1, right, but what is the price? Now, price represents the demand curve or it is called the average revenue curve. आमे कौन करिबा ए जो इक्विलिब्रियम लाइन टा हेछि that line to be extended until it meet the straight we have to extend it until it meet the average revenue curve, okay, and it meet the average revenue curve at the point let us say A, or you can write down the A1, it will meet at the point A1. So, A1 Q1 is the price per unit. When we extend that to the price axis, it find OP1 is the price per unit. तारे हमें price केते देखिरे ना OP1, quantity केते ना OQ1. हमें जब price और quantity के दिटा को multiply करूँजे, then what is the total revenue? Now price is OP1, quantity is OQ1. We find the area OP1 A1 Q1. So, OP1 A1 Q1 is to be treated as the total revenue. So, this is your total revenue. Total revenue is to be OP1 A1 Q1. Now, what about the cost? Now, to determine the cost, हमें कौन करिबा OQ1 रे हमें cost multiply करिबा. तो the cost केते अछि? You know, to judge the cost per unit, हमें से equilibrium point रो हमें average cost को extend करिबा and average cost कोड meet करछे. Now, it average cost को meet करछे at the point B1. Average cost को meet कला B1. So, cost per unit be B1 Q1. किंबा हमें this side को हमें extend करिबा. OC1 is to be treated as the cost per unit, right. So, OC1 is the cost per unit, OQ1 is the output. When you multiply with the OC1 with OQ1, we find the area OC1 B1 Q1, OC1 B1 Q1, and that is your total cost. That is your total cost. Total revenue is OP1 A1 Q1, total cost is OC1 B1 Q1. So, revenue is more than the cost. When revenue is more than the total revenue is more than the total cost, and the existence of your profit. So, what is the profit area? Now, this particular shaded area is to be treated as the profit. So, profit, when you take the difference between the revenue and cost, profit is to be A1 B1 C1 P1. So, this area A1 B1 C1 P1, that particular area to be called as the supernormal profit. The existing producer, I mean the monopoly producer, obtain this profit in short run, okay, because we know there is no other producer can enter into or quitting the industry. Therefore, the existing producer, what is the sole producer, is always on the supernormal profit if price is more than the cost per unit. Now, move to the second condition, that is called as the normal profit. While you take into account the normal profit, total revenue must be equal to the total cost. हमें इधर नौ से normal profit को total revenue must be equal to the total cost, or average revenue must be equal to the average cost. बर्तन एटी tangent करिबो, but the tangent is not at the minimum point. Perfect computation रे average cost रा minimum point को average revenue tangent करथला काहेकि ना सेठी demand कर्व टा horizontal straight line होथला हमरो cost टा this way always जदि हमें demand कर्व टा horizontal हला ताले हमें minimum point को tangent करिवो किंतु monopoly case रे downward sloping से ताको tangent करिवो falling part not at the possible at the minimum point के वाले से tangent करिवोनी, right. So, therefore, it is that means average revenue equal to average cost, it is to be not at the minimum point, rather the falling part of your average cost curve. It should not be tangent at the minimum point of your average cost curve. Okay. Now, trace the situation of your normal profit. We take output on horizontal axis and revenue and cost on vertical axis. Now, this is your average revenue curve or the demand curve. Now, we have to draw the average cost in such a way, this is your certain average cost, its minimum is here, but tangent at this point, right. The falling part is tangent kariba. Now, we draw the marginal cost. तुम जानी मार्जिनल कस्ट का मिनिमम पॉइंट दीजिए किंतु रेवेन्यू कस्ट आई मीन दैट मार्जिनल रेवेन्यू ड्रॉ करिया पूर्व आगे ताको परपेंडिकुलर ड्रॉप कर दबो कोठो ना फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ द टेंजेंसी कहेंगे ना जोठी मार्जिनल कस्ट को आई मीन मेट करूचे थ्रू दैट पॉइंट मार्जिनल रेवेन्यू मस्ट बी पासेस थ्रू दैट मीन्स जो जगह रे इक्विलिब्रियम हबो से पर्टिकुलर इक्विलिब्रियम एबव रे टेंजेंट होथबो, राइट. द इक्विलिब्रियम पॉइंट एबव रे ही टेंजेंट हबो, इट इज नॉट सो एनीवेयर एल्स. फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ द इक्विलिब्रियम वी हैव टू extend that line and we find the average cost must tangent the average revenue. That technique you have to remember. So, never trace the marginal revenue very beginning, only trace the average revenue curve, then average cost curve, make a tangential situation, then passes through your marginal cost, then drop a perpendicular. When it be touches, you have to passes through the marginal revenue, or drop the perpendicular, first of all touch the marginal revenue, through this point marginal cost to be passes through. Anyway, any angle you can finding out the normal profit. Okay. ताले ये जो point of equilibrium बाहर this particular point condition satisfied, marginal revenue, marginal cost both are to be satisfied at this particular point, and due to that what the price? Now price per unit that be A1 Q1. Why A1 Q1 is the price per unit? Now it is so because while you extend that perpendicular, it made the average revenue at the point A1. Therefore, A1 Q1 to be treated the price per unit. Or if we extend to this side, we find OP1 is the price per unit. Therefore, either you can write down the A1 Q1 or we can write down the OP1. But what is the total revenue? Now, OP1 into OQ1, OP1 into OQ1. So, the total revenue becomes OP1 A1 Q1, OP1 A1 Q1. So, this is the situation to finding out the total revenue OP1 A1 Q1. Now, to explain the how to finding out the cost situation, to find the cost. Now, cost is from the point of equilibrium, when we extend it, it also meet at the average cost at the same point. That means the cost also be same as A1 Q1 or in the OP1. So, the total cost also OP1 into OQ1, that means OP1 A1 Q1. So, that is called the total cost also, right. And when you find total revenue and total cost both are equal to each other, that reflect that total revenue equal to total cost means the producer always on the normal profit. There is no questions of your supernormal profit to be here, it only normal profit. Why the producer on the normal profit? It is so because there is total revenue and total cost both are equal at this particular point. Therefore, the monopoly producer always on the normal profit when the tangency to be takes place vertically above the equilibrium. That means, this is the point of equilibrium, vertically above it the equilibrium to be takes place, right. Now, move to the last part of it, that is called as the loss. In case of your loss, total revenue is less than the total cost, means cost is more than the revenue, total cost is more than the total revenue, or we can extend it as the average revenue is to be less than the average cost, means average cost average revenue to adhika thibo, jodi average cost average revenue to adhika thibo, then it is a loss situation. So, the loss occur to the producer when the average revenue lie below the average cost, means आम जो average cost को draw करिबा that particular curve to be above the average revenue. Okay. Now, start with tracing that particular situation of your loss. Now, on horizontal axis it is the output, and on the vertical axis this to be revenue and cost. We drop the average revenue curve which is to be downward sloping, and we have to trace the marginal revenue curve lie below it. Now, average cost, where we draw the average cost? Actually, जेहेतु लॉस बियर करुच्ची प्रोड्यूसर लॉस बियर कर आम एवरेज कस्ट को या ऊपर नवा क्या ना एवरेज रेवेन्यू ऊपर नवा. दिस इज द मिनिमम पॉइंट, दिस इज द सर्टेन एवरेज कस्ट एवरेज रेवेन्यू रो ऊपर रोचे, therefore that loss occur, right. And we have to trace the corresponding certain marginal cost. Now, marginal cost draw kale, where is the equilibrium? Now, equilibrium condition marginal revenue must be equal to the marginal cost. ताले marginal cost और marginal revenue दीटा को समान को जगह होचंती at this point. So, this is the point of equilibrium, and from that point of equilibrium, while you drop the perpendicular, OQ1 is the equilibrium output. What about the price? Extend that line until it meet the average revenue curve. So, we find A1 Q1 is the price per unit, or if you extend to this side, OP1 is the price per unit. So, total revenue kete paile? Now, total revenue la kete? Now, OP1 into OQ1. So, the area OP1 A1 Q1. So, OP1 A1 Q1 is to be treated as the total revenue. Now, what about the cost? आमे cost फाहा करिया पे हेले से इक्विलिब्रियम पॉइंट रो आमे जो लाइन टा आमे ट्रेस करचे एवरेज कॉस्ट को टच करिबा. तो आम एवरेज कॉस्ट को टच करुचे एवरेज कॉस्ट को टच करुचे लेट द पॉइंट B1 ताले कॉस्ट पर यूनिट केते हला ना B1 Q1 किंबा आमे जदि एपट को एक्सटेंड करिबा कॉस्ट केते होची ना OC1 सो कॉस्ट हला OC1 आउटपुट होची OQ1 व्हेन यू मल्टीप्लाइंग OC1 विथ OQ1 केते में पाइले टोटल कॉस्ट ना टोटल कॉस्ट पाउची OC1 B1 Q1 OC1 B1 Q1 to be considered as the total cost. Total revenue is OP1 A1 Q1 ताले कॉस्ट रेवेन्यू टार अधिक होची यदि कॉस्ट रेवेन्यू टार अधिक होची ताले केते अमाउंट अधिक होची ना दिस एरिया दिस shaded area that to be A1 B1 C1 P1 and that part is to be treated as the loss कहीं का लॉस कहिबा ना कॉस्ट अधिक रहउची रेवेन्यू अपेक्षा जेतु कॉस्ट रेवेन्यू अपेक्षा अधिक रहउची therefore this area is to be treated as the loss. Now even the producer bear losses in monopoly then he has to be covered check the total cost that consists of fixed and variable cost. हमें केते प्राइस पाउचे now OP1 is the price हमें obtain करछे whether that price is to be cover its maintenance cost or not so. If it cover its maintenance cost is okay. If it is not cover its maintenance cost then definitely have to be shut down the business. Therefore, we have to check it with even though the producer bear the losses up to what extent the producer will be continuing its business. ना तार कंटिन्यू करिबो जितला पर्यंत तार मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट को कवर कर नथिबो ओके सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट हाउ द प्राइस एंड आउटपुट टू बी डिटरमाइंड इन केस ऑफ योर मोनोपोली पर्टिकुलरली इन शॉर्ट रन we have to explain it in 3 situations supernormal profit normal profit and losses and shutdown point had to be explained in the coming class. Thank you for today.